All right. Well, you asked. You kept asking and asking. By the way, welcome to the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Sean, or just Sean. You can call me whatever. I'm not one. I don't need all fancy titles. Um, anyway, folks kept asking about what do I think of what's going on in the campuses and all of that. And I'll be honest, I couldn't really answer. Not because I didn't have any thought on it. It'd be helpful if I use this. Sorry, y'all. Let me make sure this thing is on and loud enough. There we go. Seems good. I don't know. What about y'all? I'll turn up the comments for y'all tuning in. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I better mess with some adjustments. I gotta tell you, I'm frustrated beyond belief, honestly. I'm angry. I'm super angry, actually. I don't actually know how to categorize. We're getting it all set up here. Thank you to all of you who are tuning in. I know I'm supposed to do big, long, hey, I'm going to be on live at such and such a time. And I'm going to, then schedule it or whatever. I know most of you are working or doing whatever it is you do. And, look, you're going to be listening to this on the replay, I'm pretty sure. I have been so angry. I just can't barely stand it. Just to be real honest with you. It's my opinion that I think at some point, the way all this has gone, we have to look at what is real, not what appears to be. And we have to look at not what is being reported, but what is actually happening. What is being reported and what is actually happening are two entirely different things. Now, what's happening on the college campuses, it isn't what you think. It isn't some organic thing that just popped out of nowhere. It doesn't really have to do with the Jews, with Israel. I am Chai Israel. Chai Israel. I'm Chai Israel. It doesn't have to do with Long Live Israel. It doesn't have to do with the Jewish state. It doesn't have to do, hey, thanks for joining, Patriot brother. It doesn't have to do with anything other than an intense desire to completely collapse the United States and to completely collapse Israel. That's the bottom line. And I know it's so easy. It's so incredibly easy to allow ourselves to come to the belief that it's not an attempt to destroy America and not an attempt to destroy Israel. It would be easy for us to come to that conclusion. But that's not really just what it's about. And the people behind this, they're not just anti-American and anti-Israel. They're demonic. There are a lot of Christians, believe it or not, and maybe some of you listening, I don't know, maybe you subscribe to this. And I have to tell you, and what I'm about to say, this that you're subscribing to, I'm not the station for you. If I'm not the channel for you, if this is you, if what I'm about to describe is you, as a Christian or any other faith, really. There are many Christians who are covertly anti-Semitic. They're anti-Jew. Those pesky Jews, they keep causing problems. Well, they killed Jesus, number one. This is what I hear a lot. They killed Jesus. Christians love to say, well, they killed Jesus, so I'm not down with it. And that aggravates me to no end because, first of all, as you know, I advocate, and I'm going to get into this in a second, by the way, what I advocate. I'm going to give you some... I had some great questions emailed to me, and I don't know why I don't remember to say, hey, just put them in comments if you're comfortable. If it's private, obviously, email me at smgreener@gmail.com. But really, it's better for everybody if you put it in the comments. And I'll start answering in the comments. And I'll even put elaborate answers in there. I've figured out a way to do that. I didn't realize there was a way, so... But the Christians that I'm going to describe that are anti-Semitic, that think of the Jews as pesky Jews, that say, as a reason, a validation for them to say, the Jews killed Jesus. And they don't believe in Jesus as the Messiah. And so therefore... I'm against them. The Jews really screwed up, and the Jews were all about the law, and I just did a teaching on the law and Torah and law versus grace. That was not alive, so you have to look under the videos. So I did that, and I'm hoping that I answered a lot of questions with that, and it's free to look at. Everything here is free, by the way. It's not free for me to do, but it's free for you to watch. By the way, just remember this. I talk a lot about different Bible translations and different Bibles in general. I'm going to do an upcoming podcast, which is redundant. I'm going to do a podcast, and I'm getting it geared up now. I'm trying to figure out how my camera will do it. I think I figured it out. How I can show you different translations, show you different Bibles. I guess you could call it a review, but it's really not a review. I own all the Bibles. Only 4 of them. I think I own 36 or 38 Bibles, different printed Bibles. I own many more than that online. But one of them is a precious gift. I just got a Humble Lamb Bible from my buddy Scott. Great friend, new friend, but great friend, great listener to the show. Shout out, by the way, to Scott, and hey, thank you, Patriot brother. I appreciate it, man. It's my pleasure. And a shout out to another listener. I don't know if he'll hear this live. Hey, buddy. That's Podcast Puppy over there. I'd show you, but then I'd have to reset up my cameras, and I don't know how to do that. Paul, there's a guy named Paul, through my appearances on Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Two Witnesses Live, he's become a good friend, a great advisor. He's got great advice. And, the interactions with them, they both, by the way, are Minnesotans. And, yeah, sure, you betcha. And great guys. And some of the greatest people come from Minnesota, great believers. Paul has helped me in titling and the funnel and how to do all that. And Scott has helped me just being a great, peaceful, happy warrior friend. That gives me great feedback. And so many of you do. Tahani, I could list a bunch of names. I don't have that many subscribers. And so you look at my view count, I think you see I'm not some big podcast. I'm not some big deal. I'm not big deal at all. But when you subscribe and you like and you comment, you share it, that's what makes it grow. If you think it's worth doing, if you don't think it's worth doing, I understand. That's cool. And I don't push anybody to do anything, but it does help. And I know 11% of the people that listen or watch YouTubes, only 11% hit subscribe and hit the little bell. Oh, quick shout out to my VA clinic, my VA hospital medical team. Thank you to my PT. I won't say any of their names because I'm sure they don't endorse what I do, and they probably don't agree with what I do. That's okay. They're great caregivers. But I was in a real pickle the other day, and my medical team came together. They helped me. I just can't tell you. They helped me so much. I had forgotten to renew really what I'm learning now. It's one of my most important medications. The one that's not auto renew because of it, the type of thing that it is. And it helps me kind of quiet down the spinal cord injury, pain, and neuropathy. And so a lot of people get neuropathy in just their feet and legs. I have it all over. And I have paralysis on my left side. So, oh, by the way, shout out to Jerry and Jane, founders of Honor the Warriors Foundation. And I'm not saying they endorse anything I do either. But they're wonderful people, and they've been so helpful. Man, oh man. God, what a blessing. What a blessing. Also, I want to thank Linda Anzulis, Miss Linda. Wow, married to Mr. Vic for 63 years. She is a precious, precious human being to me. She has blessed me immensely, and I just love her, love her, love her. And all of you who listen and watch and share and subscribe, all of you, I can't thank you enough. I'm being dead serious. I cannot thank you enough. Well, you got a million things you could be doing instead of listening to my stuff. There is nothing fancy about what I do. I'm technically an idiot. I might have all these degrees on the wall, but I'm an idiot when it comes to tech. I'm no good at it, and I do the best that I can with limited resources. So if you're a Christian who says, look, the Jews, they're doing wrong, and I can't support what they're doing. If you kind of empathize even a little bit with what all these, and they're not college protesters, by the way. They're not college protesters. They are absolutely terrorists. Most of the ones there are not college students. They're just the college students are the dumb ones. The college students are the gullible ones. The college students are the ones who they will not allow on camera. I'm not media trained. Go talk to the people in the green penny. They have the green jersey on or whatever. This is an organized terrorist attack. It's a takeover. Look, I don't think much of Columbia. I certainly don't think much of George Washington University. I don't think much of Yale. I don't think much of University of North Carolina. I don't think much of any of them. I don't have any ties to any of them. I know Cambridge. I was offered a fellowship there, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. You go there for 6 weeks, you study, it's a doctorate level program. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't make it work financially. So for my family, you have to fly over to England, and it's intense, and it would have been wonderful. Great thing to have on my resume, but I didn't do it. Anyway, I don't have a tie even to that. What I will say is, none of these places. I mean, I love Liberty University, and they don't have protests, and they keep that crap down. And the Biden administration is really coming after Liberty and Grand Canyon and some of the other Christian universities, levying unheard of fines, tens of millions of dollars in fines for things that they make up. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a show on that. I might interview the Liberty president. I don't know. We'll see if he wants to come on here. This is small potatoes, what I do. So anyway, so I don't care. I mean, USC, UCLA, all these places. But if you look at these places, look at the aftermath of how these people deface, they spray paint things that are priceless. They don't care. They don't care about graduation. They don't care about missing graduation. Most of them are not students at any of the places. They travel around. They get free plane tickets. They get free rent. They get food for free. They get stuff for free from the people behind this. And that's kind of the point I'm getting to. If you're a Christian and you have empathy for these people, you're just dumb. I can't help you. Sorry, I can't help you. I wish I could help you. I wish I could. I sure wish I could. But guess what? I can't help you. Because you're dumb. And I can't help stupid. That's so mean, Dr. Sean. It's so mean. Let's call people stupid. Well, you are stupid. Some people just plain and simple are stupid. And so if you're a Christian and you say, well, the Jews killed Jesus, and I kind of see the point of what's going on over there, and those poor Palestinians, those innocent women and children, and those men who don't want any part of this. First of all, you're dumb. You need to go over there. Just take a little trip, walk around. Educate yourself a little bit. By the way, well, wait a second, I forgot. The New Testament is the only Bible for you. The Old Testament, it's just some Jewish thing. A bunch of weirdness in there, a bunch of law. I don't need that. I actually had a, I don't know if you call her a preacher. I'm not sure. She was the pastor of a Episcopal church, and Episcopal? Methodist maybe, and she's a seminary trained, has a doctorate degree, and she says, I referenced in talking to her, I referenced several passages from the Old Testament, and she says, I wouldn't know about that. And I said, you wouldn't know about that? She said, well, I don't need the Old Testament because we have the New Testament. The Old Testament is worthless. First of all, I had to check myself when she said it. I couldn't believe it, and as you would imagine, very anti-Jew, very, sort of cursory knowledge, not even cursory knowledge of the Old Testament, and no knowledge of God's chosen people, His chosen land. She's an idiot. Anyway, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but y'all gotta level up your game. If you're gonna be in this, you gotta level up your game. You gotta level up your knowledge, your study. You've got to know more than what you know, and the only way that's going to happen is if you turn off the television and you pick up scripture, you pick up some Old Testament commentary, you pick up some books on culture, the land, the language. I say it all the time. I'll keep saying it. Look, and I know the Two Witnesses Live guys, they're really into, and their guests are really into predicting and all that. Nothing against them, nothing against anybody that's into that. A lot of you people that watch this show have come from there, and I'm not speaking ill of them whatsoever. It's not my bag. I taught eschatology at a college level and Bible college, and I can tell you, all right, I've written on it. I've done whole series on it, and it's not that I'm against it. I'm just not into it. I'm not into predicting. I'm not into any of that stuff. Why? Because whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I'm going to stand in faith with my God and my King. If I have to suffer for Him, I have to suffer for Him. And I'm going to stand with His chosen people, Israel. And I am not going to stand for all this crap that's going on. I mean, October 7th, the terrorists came in to Israel, to the kibbutz, the peaceful people in Israel, and they murdered them. They beheaded them. They demonically put live babies in ovens while they raped their mamas after they killed their dad, and then they killed the mama or took her hostage. They did this all on film. This is not conjecture. This is not some Israeli propaganda to justify killing the or taking over Gaza. It's not as though Gaza is some great thing, by the way. Learn some history. Learn a little bit. When Palestine was handed over to the Palestinians, those many years ago, it was a beautiful place. It had a world-class irrigation system, had a world-class agricultural system, which, quite frankly, could have fed not only all the people of Gaza, fresh vegetables and fruits and all of that, but also created enough where if they could do exports, they could make a killing. Instead of doing a bunch of killing, they could make a killing. Fresh fruits and vegetables. They left them with that. Israel left them with that. They left them with a water transport system that world class. They left them with buildings and schools and hospitals and all of these things. And not for nothing. They said, hey, we're going to give you water and we're going to give you electric. We understand that you don't have a means to do that, so we're going to do that for you. And it's essentially free. Right? And we'll provide medical care to all your people in our world-class hospitals. All you have to do is go through a checkpoint, make sure you're not carrying a bomb, because, that's something you do. That's reality. And as long as you don't do that, free medical care. We'll take care of you. You want to have babies, populate the earth? Okay, we'll do that. I mean, you want death to our babies, but, and they did this. These people are shooting rockets at them. You say, well, it's not these people. It's just Hamas. They voted Hamas in, folks. And when the hostages were taken captive on October 7th, they were brought into Gaza and they were paraded about. And who do you think was beating on them and throwing rocks at them and spitting on them and defecating on them? Yeah, believe it or not. How do I know? Because there's video of it. Hundreds of thousands of people shouting death to Israel and all of these things, doing these horrific things. These are Gazans. These are Palestinians. You say, well, really, Iran is behind it. Well, Iran is funding it. Iran is equipping them. Absolutely. Iran loves death to Israel and death to America. So these scumbags, I don't know why that. I set up a whole thing. Drives me crazy that the banner is from, I don't even know how to fix that. I know there's a way to fix it, but let's do this. I'm going to do this right now. I fixed this before. And then it didn't take. Pesky. All right. There we go. The right thing is scrolling now. I figured out how to do it. Well, I don't even know if you're seeing it. Anyway, these people destroyed what Israel gave them. Free. They gave them all this agribusiness. Free. All this ability to feed their children and all of these things. By the way, Patriot brother, yeah, you're right. Some Yahoo in our government just said we should welcome the Palestinians as refugees. No, I don't want them there. I don't want their babies. I don't want their toddlers. I don't want their teenagers. I don't want their women. I don't want their men. Stay where you are. You know why? Because your neighbors all around you, you look at Israel, a country the size of New Jersey, in the middle of places where they're hated. They're hated. Saudi Arabia hates them. Their borders, Egypt and Jordan and all these places, they hate them. They all shout death to the Jews, death to America, from the river to the sea. They hate them. And guess what? They're in alignment with those scumbags on college campuses, most of which are not college students. But the point is, stupid colleges allow this to go on. There's some colleges that said, oh, no. Don't you be coming here. This ain't happening here. You better mess around and find out. Go ahead on. If you want to go ahead and you want to do all this mess, you go ahead and find out. We're not playing. But putting up tents that they didn't buy, obviously, they're all been bought for them, making weapons, destroying places, defacing places, burglarizing buildings that are not stopping Jewish students from going to class. That's all they want to do is they want to go to class. Their parents have paid, in one case, $90,000 a year, if you can believe that. Room, board, and all that, depending on the program you're in. At Columbia, it could cost you $90,000 a year. Average cost is $66,000 a year. And some of these students, they're not rich. Some of them are on financial aid, and they can't eat off a campus. They don't have the money for that. They have to eat in the different cafeterias. Whatever's there, they have to eat. They're not rich. And they thought by going to some of these places that they would get a great education and great things would come of that, and they get a great job, and they can't even go to class. Because these scumbag terrorists who they align with Hamas, which Gaza is Hamas. Hamas is Gaza. Egypt doesn't want these people. Jordan doesn't want these people. Egypt erected one of the greatest physical barriers ever made in history. Why? Why don't they want these people? Because they're destroyers. They're destroyers. They're the seed of Satan. Everything they do is death. Everything they do is destroy. They wreck everything. No matter what they get involved in, they wreck it. Every single time. They're scumbags. They're terrorists. It's what they do. You say, how could that be? They just want a good life. They just want this. They want that. No, they don't. They're dumb. They're dumb and they destroy things. Are there dumb people in this world who destroy things? Yes. Are there dumb people in this world who destroy things that want to kill us? Yes. Are there people that are dumb and destroying terrorists in this world that want to kill and eliminate Jews forever? Yes. And there's some smart ones and there's some rich ones that still want to destroy Israel. And there are Christians out there, and maybe you're one of them, I don't know. I don't know who's listening to this. But there are Christians out there who say, look, the gifts that have been given to us, they are abusing the support that we give them. The Jews are bleeding us dry. At the U.S. and all this aid, and they're constantly, take. BS. Learn a little something. Egypt benefits from Israel. Jordan benefits from Israel. The whole world benefits from Israel. But places all around Israel who hate Israel, they benefit from them. Why? Because they are smart people and they are able to grow fruits and vegetables that blow away. Products made from fruits and vegetables, inventions, mechanical inventions, that you can't believe. And they share that with the world, including their enemies. More patents in Israel, a country the size of New Jersey, than the next 10 countries in the world combined. But there are Christians out there, and there are people out there. People say, "Oh, wait a second! I saw some Jews on those campuses wearing Palestinian." Let me tell you something. No real Jew, hear me, no real Jew is going to put on a Palestinian headscarf, a Hamas headscarf. They're not doing that. I see them on television, the dirty, smelly punks that come out there. No life. No life. This is all they do. Destroying, defacing. They're scum. They're absolute scum. And you know what? They're wearing kippahs. I saw a woman the other day wearing a kippah, claiming to be a Jew. Jew in support of Palestine, she had on her shirt. You're an idiot. I see the LGBT crowd out there. Oh, peace in Palestine, from the river to the sea. End the genocide now. The genocide. Let's address the genocide. Hey, ceasefire. Yeah, I see signs for ceasefire. You know when there was a ceasefire? October 6th and 5th. By the way, rockets all the time, by the way. Israel was just taking it. October 7th is the culmination, but it's not the only thing. They'd send hundreds and hundreds of rockets. In Israel, they'd say, "Hey, come on, stop doing that." To their discredit, quite frankly. And because when you attack Israel, oh, that's terrible. But when Israel responds, counterattacks, oh, well, that's disproportionate. That's not right. They shouldn't be doing that. Shut up. You're dumb. You're just flipping dumb. Crap is coming out of your mouth. Bovine feces are just flying out of your mouth. You gotta stop eating bovine feces and saying bovine feces, because you're stupid and you're dumb, and you don't deserve to hold this book in your hand and claim to be a Christian. You're uneducated. You don't know the first thing about Israel, and you don't know the first thing about Gaza, and you don't know the first thing about the people that live there, and what Israel has done for them, and what Israel has taken over and over and over. Listen, there were people that survived my first doctorate, right, was going to be, my secular doctorate, was going to be, how did the Holocaust happen? In other words, is there evidence that it happened? And how did it happen? Why did it happen? And then how can we prevent it from happening again? And part of that I visited the Big Five concentration camps, the killing grounds, the murder camps, the torture camps, the demonic camps. I walked through them. I met a Polish family who moved just outside of the camp. A husband and wife, they married each other. They were both in the camp. They both lost all of their family. Literally every single family member gone. I was in their home for, I don't know, a day and a half. Some of it was blurry because homemade vodka. They served homemade vodka with everything. And yeah. Holy moly. But they actually comforted me because I was devastated. And they cared for me and all of that. And I asked them, how do you know so much about the camps? And I didn't understand their language. Polish is not one of the languages I spoke. But we could figure stuff out. And I said, how do you know so much about this place? How come you know so much? And they showed me their arms, the tattoos on their arms, the numbers on their arms. And they told me what went on there. I said, why do you live here? so that we will never forget, so that no one else will ever forget. The world has forgotten. Hashtag never forget. That ought to be quit. You ought to quit that one. That ought to be de-hashtagged or whatever you call it. Because the world has forgotten. And Americans, not just Christians, but Americans, you sit here in your comfort and you look at these universities, you say, that doesn't affect me. You look at Israel and what's happening and what has happened to their people, thousands of people taken and killed. And you say, well, it's kind of disproportionate, their response. I mean, well, there's 20-some thousand people dead. There should be 200,000 people dead in Gaza and Palestine. You say, well, that's a horrible thing for a man of the cloth to say. Read the Old Testament. God said to wipe the earth clean with any remnant of them. And we didn't. And Israel, to its discredit, didn't. Why? Because of political pressure from all over the world. You got to be flipping kidding me, man. These are not a people to be reasoned with. And neither are these punk. They're not even agitators. They're destroyers. They're utter destroyers. These people on these campuses and everywhere else that they're protesting, blocking bridges, blocking entrances to hospitals, blocking police stations, attacking police. That needs to end. You say, well, hopefully we can get Trump in office and he'll end it. I have no doubt that he'll address it very, very differently than Biden has or not. But Trump is not the answer even. I'm not saying you vote for who you want to vote for. But America is in a spiral, and it's a death spiral. When you allow stuff like this to happen, when you allow the riots that happened after George Floyd and all that, when you allow trillions of dollars of damage to cities to be done by Antifa, when you allow Soros, now Alex Soros and George Soros is the father, when you allow people like that to be in America, when you don't expel them as being terrorists, when you fund terrorists, you are a terrorist. When you identify with Palestine, you're not a pro-Palestine sympathizer, you are a terrorist. And if you're a Christian or a pretend Jew and you identify with them, if you're an LGBTQIA++ person and you identify with them, you are not pro-Palestine. You are not pro-Hamas. You are a terrorist and you need to be treated as such. You need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You need to be put away as terrorists. They're finding now all kinds of subversive stuff in these encampments. Will you tell me, when you go to a place, a college, and it's a camp, and you're complaining about they're making us take our tents down? First of all, they're not your tents. They were bought by a Soros organization. Second of all, those signs and all those things that you wave, pre-printed, fancy, hundreds of thousands of dollars of printing there, pre-made, pre-assembled, and they just get dropped off. Okay, yeah, I believe that it's organic. They come from terrorists. Iran right now is cheering. By the way, Iran has offered to every student that was a protester on these universities free university study, full scholarship to Iran, to study in Iran. Go on, take advantage. I want the LGBT crowd to go first. I have friends that are, they're LGB, and I love them. I have family members. I love them. I hope none of them are stupid enough to take them up on it. I hope none of them are stupid enough to be supporting these people. But LGBT crowd, you've been offered a free scholarship to go study at University and on. Go do it. By the way, why college campuses? Why are you doing the riots on college campuses? Why are you stealing space and destroying space and defacing things forever? Why? Why are you doing that? Why at a university? Well, because they suck. Because they're chumps. They're led by chumps and weak punks. They're led by also terrorists. They're led by people who are not. They're not educators. They're nothing more than propagandists. That's why they do it there. They know they can get away with it. If you're a person that, I don't know why this tends to be, and I'm going to talk about translations here in a bit, but because it's been asked for. If you're a person this is what I find. I don't know if it's the case or not, but I find there's a huge contingent of people that send me messages on KJV only, King James Version only, the Authorized Version only, because that's what Jesus carried. The whole big bunch of that group are also the same ones, I don't know, flat earthers. They're also the same people who say the Jews killed Jesus, and that's what, they hang their hat on, and they say no more aid to Israel, and all of this. For whatever reason, that seems to be a huge... I'm not saying it's the only one. I'm saying it's a lot. And I'm sick of it. Honest to God, I'm sick of it. You're dumb. First of all, if you're a flat earther, I'm sorry. I can't help you. I can't help you. You're dumb. I wish you weren't dumb, but you're dumb, and I can't help you from being dumb, because you're going to stay dumb. Because if that's what you believe, that's what you're hanging your hat on, well, you're dumb. And I can't help you. I want to help you. Believe me, I want to help you. I don't want you to stay dumb the rest of your life, but you're going to be dumb until you learn some stuff. Flat Earth. Gosh, that drives me crazy. I get a lot of requests. Can you do a show on flat Earth versus, sphere? Because, there's a lot of evidence pointing to... No, there's not. No, there's not. Stop being dumb. I personally have jumped out of an airplane that was flying at a high enough altitude that I had to jump out with oxygen and sealed suit. I've personally done that. And you can see curvature of the Earth. I know people that have flown at 80,000 feet in spy planes. I know them well. I know people who have gone up in rockets and gone into orbit and looked back at the Earth, and clearly it's a sphere. Stop with all that flat Earth crap. And that seems to be the crowd that's anti-Jew. And I'm seeing this anti-Jew, anti-Semitism come into these Christian groups. I've seen it on podcasts. I've seen it on normal people, normal Christians, and people say, well, I just can't blindly support Israel because they're doing bad things. I mean, they're committing genocide, and, and they're keep begging for money. And don't be a dummy. Israel is a massive blessing to us. Just economically, it would be insane to allow them to fall. Geopolitically, it'd be insane to allow them to fall. Biblically, it would be blasphemy against God, my King, and Yeshua, my Redeemer, to allow Israel to fall. And yet, there are all these Christians out there who seem to have an awful lot to say, but nothing but bovine feces comes out of their mouth. They say, why don't you debate these people? Why don't you, argue the case? If you have to argue a case for Israel, and they, you, for whatever reason, I don't know what your reason might be. But you're on the fence. Nothing I say here is going to help you. I wish that it would. I wish that it would, but it's not. Anti-Semitism is nothing new, by the way. Oh, I started to say, there's no script for this, by the way. No outline, no nothing. I started to say about Holocaust survivors. There are a lot of people out there, many of them Christians, who deny the Holocaust. They say that didn't happen. It didn't happen. The United States stole trillions of dollars. They still hold many of the banks in the United States in vaults. Some in New York City, some in Washington, D.C., some in Chicago, some in other places, hold still gold, diamonds, priceless art, and much more. They still hold that. Stolen from the Jews during the Holocaust. And you say, well, that was something bad that Hitler did. And yeah, I think, it shouldn't have done that. That was terrible. But do you understand why Hitler did that? First of all, he's a nut job. He's a nut job. Hitler was a nut job. But he was a charismatic nut job. And he followed the teachings of Martin Luther. Whoa, the Christian crowd goes, wait, not our Martin Luther, the Reformation. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Martin Luther did a lot of good things, but he was a virulent anti-Semite. He was virulently anti-Jew. And you folks out there that just love the King James Version, look, I have probably 5 copies of it over on my shelf. I don't despair. You'll see in a minute. I'll talk about it in a minute. But you KJV only crowd that you say, well, this is the only one. This is the authorized version. This is the one Jesus carried. This is the one I'm going to carry. Nothing else. You're watering down the gospel if you do anything else. I'll explain in a minute why hogwash. More bovine feces slinging about. Duck you. That's why I have this hat on. I just duck my head and not get hit with it. King James was a virulent anti-Semite. He hated the Jews. And for those of you who say, "Whoa, you're saying the Bible is telling you," this is what I'm telling you. I am telling you that, yes, when God inspired Scripture, His word to man, that is perfect from His inspiration to the pens and the minds and the souls that wrote it down. But it's the game of telephone, and it has changed and changed and changed. And there have been finds, I'm going to talk about one of them, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Caves of Qumran, that have provided massive documentation that we didn't have when the King James Version, the 1600s, the King James Version was commissioned. But the guy who commissioned it, the guy who paid for it, hated the Jews. Martin Luther, one of the inspirations for Hitler, hated the Jews. He called for their death, called them animals. Well, he softened a little bit toward his, near the end. Really? Really? The German people, I'm not throwing rocks at all German people, because I know there's many German people out there that are wonderful that would have never supported what Hitler did. But there are a lot that did. You say, well, why did you ride BMW motorcycles then? Believe you me, I struggled with that. I did a lot of research. I actually toured several BMW motorcycle factories. The people behind BMW, and I when I rode motorcycles, I don't anymore, I came to the conclusion that it was a totally different company now. Their lineage is bad. There's no doubt about it. But they've turned it around. Anyway, I have a tremendous animus toward the German people of that time when the Holocaust happened. I can't just be mad at the German people, though, who promulgated this. I can't just be mad at the demonic Hitler and his hundreds of thousands of demonic officers that worked for him and their demonic families that supported this. And I can't support or forgive the guards that tortured and abused and murdered millions of Jews. Not just Jews, everybody. You LGBT crowd. Hey, how about this? They killed gays too. They had special camps for gay people. And they put them in ovens and killed them. That's your crowd? That's your team? Thank you, Fiore. I appreciate that. Hit the like, please. Thank you. I always forget to say that. Thank you for joining. It's awesome. But these people were systematically rounded up. First thing they did was take away their books. They took away their ability to protect themselves. They took away their access to information. And then they shrunk their spaces further and further and further. And then they made up a lie about, hey, we have this place where you can work. They were concentration camps where they tortured and they murdered after utterly humiliating an extremely proud and peaceful people. They took Jews from everywhere, not just Germany, not just Poland, not the Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. They took them from all over Europe, and they shipped them there in trains. And then when shooting them was too expensive and the bodies were too hard to bury, they said, what can we do? Well, the final solution will be, we get rid of all the Jews and all the gays and all the this and all the that, including handicapped. We get rid of all of them, but we got to do something with the bodies because there's so many bodies and bullets are expensive. So why don't we burn them? Toward the end, they were actually using the bodies of human beings, burning them they were experimenting with trying to generate power. Electrical power. That's reality. You hate me if you want. You can say, what do you know? But I'm sick to death of people denying that this happened. I've been there. I've interviewed countless. I told you I was going to do my PhD on, my first PhD was going to be a secular PhD, and it was going to be, like I said before, about how did the Holocaust happen, how did it happen, why did it happen, and how can we prevent it from happening. I've done years of research. Family, you've got to understand, this did happen. Human beings did this to people. They did it to Jews because they thought Jews were disgusting. Jews had communities and economic success and artistic success and scientific success and so many areas where they just were extraordinary. But they worked within their own communities, which is smart. Germany was going through a massive economic decline. And Hitler said, coming off of what Martin Luther said, the Jews are the problem. So we're going to round them up. We're going to kill them. And oh, by the way, the gays, they're a problem too. And the handicapped, well, they poison our race. They make us not the perfect race, which we are. And so this is what they're saying, not what I'm saying. And so we're just going to kill them. We're going to round them up, work them to death, and then we're going to kill them. Yeah, they rounded up people with disabilities. The most vulnerable people out there. I personally talked to and interviewed many Holocaust survivors, many of whom have died since I've talked to them. And I concluded I could not do that topic justice. I couldn't come up with what I could honestly say is new research that would change anything, that would benefit the world. So I stopped. I had the dissertation almost completely written. At the point that I stopped writing, it was 175 pages. I was devastated. When I walk through those camps and look at the mountains of eyeglasses and the mountains of teeth that were yanked out of people, living people, because they were gold fillings. I looked at the warehouses where their possessions were pilfered. I looked at the shoes, children, adults. I looked at the crutches. the wheelchairs, and so much more. Human beings did that to human beings. They did it because they were Jews or they were gay. And they did it because Hitler was an acolyte of Martin Luther. He wasn't a particularly religious person, obviously. But the anti-Semitism of the commissioning of the King James Version, I'm not saying there's not a benefit to it. It brought to print something and made it available in the English language. I mean, it cannot be understated. What, 400 years ago? Cannot be understated how important that was, and what a benefit and blessing it was. However, don't think that God inspired that book or any other Bible ever since. Because you know what? Humanity, bias, paradigms, a lack of knowledge of Hebrew and Aramaic. When the King James Bible was done, the commission that was in charge, the translators that were in charge of translating Jewish and Aramaic, they couldn't read the Jew language, Hebrew and Aramaic. They couldn't read it. They couldn't read the language. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And yet they're on the commission. They're on the team. Why were they selected? Because they also hated Jews. How do we know that? Because we can read their writing. I talk to people who their humanity was assaulted. As young children, they were brought to the camps. Some as teens. Some were brought with their entire family. They're the only ones that survived. Their entire lineage was wiped out by demonic hatred. And you say, a lot of folks say, a lot of Christians say, well, that was Germany and that was Europe, and they allowed this to happen. In America, we allowed this to happen. We only jumped into the war when we could conclude Hitler spoke in the United States. He had a huge following here. Operation Paperclip by Annie Jacobson. Read that book or do the audiobook. She narrates herself, and you'll see why she narrates her. She's got the best voice ever. She's an amazing writer. She's written many other books. But Operation Paperclip, we brought the Nazi officers, the SS officers, who were scientists who conducted horrific experiments on human beings and how to kill human beings, and designed and invented the rocket technology. And we brought them here to the United States. Yes, we brought them here, and we said, look, we'll give you a new life. We'll give you money. We'll give you jobs if you teach us how you did this. And if you tell us, you help us. You help us. Many of the officers who didn't participate in that fled to places like Ecuador, Paraguay, Argentina, Australia. Argentina was a big one. And we facilitated a lot of it, by the way. The United States did. We were to a great degree complicit in what happened to Jewish people. The point I'm getting to is people have been trying to eradicate Jews for virtually their entire existence. They've been oppressed. They've been spread like seeds all over the world, forced away from their land. They've been constantly attacked. They've been fighting for their survival forever. There's people in Congress who don't have an American flag. They have Palestinian flags. This is what they wear. This is what they should never be allowed, by the way. There's no place for them in the United States Congress. If you support terrorists, you are a terrorist. You can't be trusted. Frankly, you shouldn't live here. It's stupid that we allow these people in our country, let alone to be in our government. Stupid. Dumb, dumb, dumb. I about had it. I have had it. I'm sick of it. I'm telling you, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of how so many stood by and let this happen on these college campuses and other places around, where they block bridges and they block roadways and hospitals even. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of evil communist socialist lawyers who work their way into jobs where they're attorneys general and deputy attorney generals and even police jobs, but government jobs typically, and they allow these things to happen. They encourage these things to happen, and then they do nothing when these things happen. And the poor police, they have to go deal with it. You imagine the police having to walk through and throw stuff in dumpsters? Why are the police doing that? It's going to cost over $200,000 to clean up one area, the quad. The one area, that lawn area in UCLA, $200,000 just to clean that up. Not to fix it, just to clean it up. Meanwhile, police officers are out there having to go through stuff, throw stuff in dumpsters. Why? University, you wanted this to happen? You didn't stop this? You didn't stop it before it got all the way there? Shouldn't be the police cleaning up, should be you cleaning up. And you have the unmitigated gall to say that you're going to need tax help while sitting on $1 billion in endowments. You have the nerve to say you're going to need money from the government to help clean it up. We're the government, and I ain't giving you a dime. The ignorance of Christians who say the Jews killed Jesus don't know squat. Some Jews were involved. Some were. There were some Pharisees and Sadducees, different people, affiliated people. They were involved. Absolutely. But the entire Jewish people, they didn't kill Jesus. I did. I did. Oh, I didn't have a knife in my hand or a gun or a whip or nails or a crown of thorns, but I'm a sinner. My hurts, habits, and hang-ups put him right up on that cross. Newsflash for you, Christian. Yours too. You did it too. I'm going to do a whole history lesson on that. How it all came about. Why? It was a power thing. Some were just ultra religious, and they also, their lifestyle was completely driven by people doing what they said. They had control over a people, and they oppressed them. They helped the Romans and oppress them. They collaborated with them. But I'm just as guilty as any of them are. You can accept your guilt if you want. You don't have to. I'll accept it on my part. I did it. It's my fault. I put Jesus on the cross. But he died and he rose again in 3 days, just as prophecy said. Believe me, prophecy drove a lot of this. He could have called 10,000 angels, but he didn't. He didn't. He did what the Father asked of him. And because of that, we have hope of eternity with Christ. Perfect, healed, no more tears, no more sorrows, no more pain. Yeshua did that for us, a Jew. A Jew. Why in the world did God choose to bring our salvation through the Hebrew people, the Hebrew land, the Hebrew culture? Why? They are a special people, and we should never forget that. The Bible tells us never to forget it. The Bible tells us to be on the side of Israel, to support Israel if you're for them, but woe unto you if you're against them. Anyway, if you want to know what I think about the riots and protest, they're scumbags. They should go to jail. There are people rotting in jail right now from the January 6th, which, I said was a setup from the beginning. They're still rotting in jail. Never done anything wrong in their lifetime. They were just there. Some of them weren't even in the building. And they're still in jail, languishing in jail. And yet these people get out because people pay their bail. Rich people, evil, dirty, evil, demonic people pay their bail. And they're proud. I stood up. I'm proud of what I did. You employers out there, they took pictures in LA. The police took pictures. They made them take their masks off. They made them take their disguises off. Yes, many were wearing disguises. They took photographs of them, and they identified them affirmatively. And they put those pictures on social media. If you're an employer, do your background checks. If they had anything to, I don't care if they're the best, whatever. I don't care if they make your company hundreds of millions of dollars. Don't hire them. Don't even hire them for dishwasher or dog catcher or poop scooper. Don't hire them for any of that. We have no place for them here. And if you support them, I have no place for you. All right. In another broadcast, I'm going to talk more about some of this, but suffice to say, if you support what was going on, if you were ambivalent, I don't know how I can accept that. You say it didn't affect me. Yes, it does. And you're silent? What happened October 7th was a second Holocaust. A peaceful people were attacked, raped, tortured, beheaded, burnt, murdered, babies decapitated, live babies put in ovens. You say, well, it doesn't affect me. Well, it's sad, but it doesn't affect me. Learn something, study something, care about something other than yourself. They attack Jews, they attack us. Jews today, us tomorrow. I give you no quarter if you are a person who supports terrorism because you are a terrorist. It's not a free speech issue, it's terrorism. Nothing less. All right, I'm going to talk briefly about this. I'm going to do a separate podcast on this. I had a dear subscriber write this to me asking for more information, and I thought I'd share it for all of y'all since I get these questions a lot. This dear listener who is amazing. I was never taught that the KJV of the Bible was not the original Bible. I'm going to read that again. I was never taught that the KJV of the Bible was not the original Bible. I was taught that I feel like something is missing from the Bible questions I had were the devil trying to cause doubt in my mind. Common tactic, by the way. You're not the only one. And by the way, I'm not against the KJV. This is not anti-KJV. But the only KJV only crowd, she was also taught the Catholic Bible was wrong, but doing a little research, things that make you go, Look, I know of many people with similar experiences, and it's unfortunate, really, because that intentional squashing of curiosity, it crushes deeper learning of what God's really about. And though their intent was to bolster faith, it only unseats it. When you squash curiosity, you say, well, don't ask. Ooh, you don't ask those questions. You don't bolster faith. You squash it. You ruin it. I believe this is done out of ignorance and fear. I believe it's a tactic, same tactic that Hitler used. It's the same tactic that every dictator and authoritarian ever used. And it's a tactic widely used in the church. It's also fear. It's fear of, I can't explain certain things, so I don't want to talk about it. Just go along. As I said before, King James commissioned the translation team. Again, many of them did not speak the Hebrew and Aramaic language. They couldn't read it. They depended on other people's writings that also were anti-Jew. I'm not saying all of them were, but majority were. And hey, they're getting paid. It's a good job. So King James commissioned the translation team, and he paid them to bring the Holy Bible to English speakers as the only authorized translation to be read or possessed. It wasn't God doing the authorization, it was King James, thus the name, the authorized version. King James's translation teams were very inexperienced in the language of Hebrew and Aramaic. They were better in Greek, but only appreciably so. So it's important to note, prior to the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in the caves of Qumran, parts of the original manuscripts and thus books of the Bible, they were very tattered and incomplete. Some of the books had as little as 35% intact, whereas the Dead Sea Scrolls, as much as 95% of some of the books were intact. And as you'll read in a moment, well, you're going to hear it. You're not going to read it. There were other complementary writings which gave accuracy. Complementary writings, they're not in the Bible. Extra biblical, not anti-biblical, extra biblical writings. Accuracy and clarity not available during the King James Version project. Additionally, knowledge of Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek has grown massively since the 1600s. Now, remember, Hebrew and Aramaic was a language that went away. When Israel was reformed, when they regathered in God's promised land, they did a great thing in making Hebrew the language of Israel. I want to say something also about the perfect inspiration of the Bible. From God to the original authors. Now, I said this a minute ago, but I want to be clear about this. From God to the original authors, I believe the Bible is 100% inspired by and of God. Perfect. However, with the game of telephone over time, weaving through nefarious personal and institutional agendas and paradigms, this inspiration part can get muffled. Now remember this, there's so many variations of translations and types of Bibles because the publishers don't have to pay the original authors royalty. They don't have to pay them a dime. Now, I'm going to talk about some, this is not necessarily in the order of recommendation, but I want to do this and have this part of this and share this if you have, if you disagree, it's okay too. If you're a KJV only person, don't put in comments about how much you hate me and I'm anti-God and, all this stuff and, that any other Bible's watered down. That's simply not true. Other translations absolutely are spurious. But I'm going to talk about a few of them. The English Standard Version, the New Revised Standard Version, and the New American Standard Bible. They're often considered more accurate translations of the Bible compared to the King James Version for several reasons. This is I'm going to give you the reasons. Manuscript evidence. Since the KJV was translated in 1611, significant advancements in biblical scholarship have occurred, leading to the discovery of older and more reliable manuscripts. The ESV, NRSV, and the NASB benefit from access to a broader range of ancient manuscripts, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, which they were not available to the translators of the King James Version. Now, translation methodology. All of these things matter. The ESV, NRSV, and the NASB typically employ a more modern translation methodology that prioritizes accuracy and fidelity to the original languages, which are Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, right? We can agree those three languages are the original languages. And so the ESV, the NRSV, and the NASB, they focus more on accuracy and fidelity to the original languages. They often utilize the principles of formal equivalence, word-for-word translation, while also considering the linguistic nuances of the original text. This approach aims to provide a clearer and more precise rendering of biblical text. Now, let's talk about language evolution. I'm not talking about evolution from apes to man. I'm talking about language, the etymology of words and the vernacular as it evolves. The English language has evolved significantly since the time of the King James translation. The ESV, NRSV, and NASB, they take into account contemporary English usage, and they employ language that's more accessible and understandable to modern readers without sacrificing accuracy or theological depth. Here's number 4, scholarly advances. Over the centuries, biblical scholarship has made more substantial progress in understanding ancient languages, cultures, and historical contexts. The translators of the ESV, NRSV, and NASB benefit from these advances, incorporating the latest research and insights into their translations to provide readers with a more accurate and nuanced understanding of the biblical text. Look, the KJV is a beautiful book to read. It remains a beloved and influential translation with a very rich literary history and very rich literary qualities. And look, although many readers today prefer the ESV, NRSV, and the NASB and the New King James Version, I respect that, and I respect if you carry the KJV. But I like the ones I mentioned because it's updated scholarship and linguistic accuracy. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found by children in the caves of Qumran over the course of almost 11 years. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of this find in biblical archaeology. Now, I've mentioned the caves of Qumran, I've mentioned the Dead Sea Scrolls. Many folks tell me, we don't know where they are, can you tell us about them? So where are these caves? The caves of Qumran are located near the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea in the West Bank region of Israel. Qumran is situated approximately 1.5 kilometers or a mile inland from the Dead Sea, hence the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, the temperatures there, the climate there are incredible, especially if you're in a cave, deep in a cave, and you have scrolls and papyrus and all of these types that what they use to write on. Our modern day paper, let's say, was that. They're preserved amazingly. So anyway, it's near there's a modern Israeli settlement in Kalia, and there's kibbutz there and all that. But anyway, that's where it's near. So if you look on a map, boom, that's where it'll be. Now, the caves gained fame in the mid-20th century following the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what these what they really are ancient manuscripts. And in several of these caves between 1947 and 1956, would you agree, well after 1600s? 1947 and 1956. It's so deep. These cave complexes are so deep, and some of them are very difficult to get into. It took that long to get to all of them. So these scrolls, what they've done is they've provided a very valuable insight into Jewish life, Hebrew life, including their religious beliefs. We like to say that Judaism was a broadly known thing, and that it was sort of settled, but it wasn't. There they were wild people, and hey, I'm just saying that it's important for us to know. It's important for us to understand ancient Jewish life and their religious beliefs and the practices of the community and the culture. Not only that inhabited the nearby settlement of Qumran during the Second Temple period, but also Jews in general. It's important for us to understand that. The original speaker, the original audience, what it was about. Now, the English Standard Version, the NRSV, which is the New Revised Standard Version, and the New American Standard Bible, NASB, they're often considered more accurate translations of the Bible compared to the KJV. So just so you understand that. I don't want you to miss that. Now, I am going to say, and I do understand how this is tricky, right? I do understand how this is tricky. I do understand that what I'm about to talk about real briefly is kind of crazy. And I'm going to put this, I got to figure out how to import this as an image into the show. I know that there's a way to do it through Ecamm Live. I don't know how to do it, so I'm learning as I go. So what I'm going to send you, or what I'm going to put in there as a picture, and then when you click on it, blow it up. I'll put the link to evangelicalbible.com. They've done great work here. I got to blow it up over here though, because I can't read it. These old eyes. Now, there's word for word, or there's thought for thought, right? When we're talking about Bible translation, word for word is a methodology, and thought for thought is a methodology. So understand that they don't have to be opposed. They're not diametrically opposed, but they are different. And I believe that somewhere in the middle of word for word and thought for thought is really the best blend. You might say, well, word for word, we'll put word for word because isn't that the most accurate? Not necessarily. Word for word, the Hebrew and Aramaic languages, the way they express things might not be one word, or one word might have 15 different expressions, or 17 or 19 different meanings. The same word, but a slight difference, or where it's used in the sentence, and all of this could have great bearing on what the meaning of that word for word. Word for what word? Hebrew and Aramaic, Koine Greek, for what word? Which if we're translating to English, this is why I say, come on, you people that spend all this time learning how to predict and thinking you're going to predict. No offense to Witnesses Live guys, you guys are smarter than me. But looking at the sky and the stars and the this and the that, figuring it all out, hey man, more power to you, do your thing. However, this old dummy over here, I'm just not into that. So, if we look at the word, we have to look at the culture. And I'm saying, I'm encouraging everyone, if you have time to do all this other extraneous research, learn Hebrew. Learn it. Learn some Aramaic. It is a long, hard process. It is, ancient Hebrew and Aramaic is extraordinarily difficult. Koine Greek is massively different than modern day Greek. Ancient Hebrew is massively different than modern Hebrew. It takes time. It is hard. It is a lifetime. But if you really want to understand, you have to understand the language, the culture, and the context of as it was written, when it was written. Look, I can't emphasize that enough. Yes, it's hard. It's not expensive, but it is difficult. Okay, let me see here. All right. So word for word versus thought for thought. I say there's a blend there. Now, when I put this chart out there, you're going to see on the left one of the footnotes. This is you can look at this up yourself, at evangelicalbible.com, and it is the English Bible overview. So it says there, this chart attempts to show some of the historical pedigrees of the English Bible. This is shown with the dotted line. So I can't show you the dotted line. You'll have to tap on this yourself. This translation continuum gives a general idea of translation philosophy. It does not attempt to evaluate the merits of a given translation. It would likewise be incorrect to assume the more literal is necessarily better. It is coincidentally a tribute to William Tyndale, whose 1525 translation became the fountainhead of the English Bible. That's Holgate, 400, Wycliffe, 1382, Douay-Rheims, 1582. That's kind of where it stopped on that side. Erasmus, Greek text, 1516, the 10th to 13th century, Textus Receptus, the Masoretic text. By the way, William Tyndale was burned at the stake for what he did in 1536. Don't think some people didn't die to bring us this scripture. So when you flop God's word up on the rear deck of your car, when you throw this onto your floor of your car, when you put this book underneath a whole bunch of other books, secular books, you're disrespecting that book. You're just disrespecting the blood and treasure that went in to giving us this. Man, it's the bottom line. You can not like me for saying it, but it's true. Treat this book with some reverence. You don't worship the book, you worship the authors. The author's inspiration, God, through the Holy Spirit, inspiring the human authors to write these books. And all of the people that transcribed them, and the scribes that were, the Essenes were, every jot, every tittle, every little tiny mark, it was crazy what these people did to bring us this. And William Tyndale was burned at the stake. He gave his life. So Tyndale's New Testament came from the Erasmus Greek text, 1516. And so then, Matthew, 1537, the Great Bible, 1529, the Bishop's Bible, 1568. The Geneva Bible, by the way, 1560, came directly from Tyndale's New Testament in 1525. And then there were offshoots of that. So the Coverdale, 1537, and then the KJV. So the Hebrew text, most translations depend in a large part on the Masoretic text. So that's important to know because that's an ancient text. I actually have it. I don't have the real thing. I have it on computer, just to have and be able to go through it and see how it is. So I have some familiarity. So most translations depend in large part, if they're Hebrew text and Aramaic text sensitive. If this is something that they, I don't know, if the different translations have different focus. I'll go into that in a second. Anyway, so the KJV, King James Version, the authorized version, 1611, right? I also have the Geneva Bible, I have the Great Bible, I have the Bishop's Bible, I have the Coverdale Bible. Amazing. I have the Revised Version of 1885. I have the American Revised Version, 1901. I have all those. So in 1971, the New American Standard Bible, and it's been revised many times. 2020, I think, was the last revision, and I think I have that. I have it on computer, but I don't know if I may have that. So 1995, 1998, they did different revisions. So, if it was perfect the first time, they shouldn't have revised it, messing with it. It wasn't perfect, and they knew that, and they realized that. There are also changes, remember, in the English language, the etymology of words, the vernacular, and understanding. We keep learning day by day more and more about the Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek languages. So the NASB, the New American Standard Bible, 1971. The ESV, amazing actually. The ESV came out in 2001. In 1952, the Revised Standard Version, which I have in print, the Revised Standard Version. So the Revised Standard came from a lineage which was extraordinary, just extraordinary. And from that, the Revised Version and the Revised Standard Version contributed to the New American Standard in 1971, and in 2001, the ESV. But it also impacted the new Revised Standard Version, which I also have, 1989. Now, the Coleman Study Bible, that was in 2017. Or not Coleman. What's the name of it? Not the Holman Bible. Another Bible. It's leaking off my brain. Yes, the Holman Christian Standard Bible. That's the proper name. That came out in 2017. I also have that Bible in print and online. I have the entire, most of the entire translation notes. 66,000, 138,000 notes. It's huge. Unbelievable. What they were thinking and how they got to certain things are translator notes. Amazing to read. So the New Revised Standard Version, 1989, that's important. They keep revising. The NAB, right? And you may have never heard of that. That's a Bible, New American Bible, simple, clear American English. It's close to the original text. It was considered the Catholic Bible. Okay, that was 1970. The NIV, I have many copies of that too, the NIV. I have the NIV Study Bible. Believe it or not, I have the Life Application Study Bible in the New Living Translation. I have the Evidence Study Bible in New King James Version. I have the American Patriots Bible. I have the Archaeological Study Bible. I have the Founders Bible. I have the Life Principles Bible. I have the Schofield Bible. I have the Thompson Chain Reference Study Bible. I have 2 copies of that. Ask me why. Because I used that during one of my doctorates and part of a master's, and they are written in so much. I can't. There's no empty space on them. I have my dad's Bible, which was the New Revised Standard Version. I have probably 5 copies of the English Standard Version, the English Standard Version Study Bible. I have the Tree of Life, Holy Scriptures. I have the Israel Bible from Israel365.com. I highly recommend that. The hardback New American Study Bible. I have from Liberty University a gift personally from Dr. Elmer Towns. God bless him. He's going on to his reward. And it's huge. It's this big. It's amazing. I have that. And I have many others. Then I have the Keyword Study Bible, Hebrew Greek Keyword Study Bible, in the red letter edition, the black letter edition, in the ESV. I have, what's this? Let me see what this one is. I have 2 of these because I filled these up. The Hebrew Greek Keyword Study Bible. One is the black letter version, one's the red letter version where the words of Christ are in them. And I have 3, 4, 5 of those. I have the Tree of Life version, Holy Scriptures. I have the new Inductive Study Bible in ESV. I cannot recommend that enough. Utterly amazing. Again, another copy of the ESV Study Bible. I have right here, so many Bibles. I love Bibles. Okay, this is I'm looking at my ESV Study Bible, the first one that I got, and it's, wow, amazing. What a beautiful, beautiful Bible. Most of my Bibles are in Bible covers. I'm a big fan of Bible covers, just to protect them. A quote from Joseph Parker: "I'd rather teach one man to pray than 10 to preach." We might write that down. I'd rather teach one man to pray than 10 to preach. Joseph Parker. Man, I got to tell you. Amazing. Amazing. When I look through this, I have a Bible project I'm in the process of doing now. And what I'm doing in that process is I am
transferring all of the notes from this. Really trying to. I don't think I'm going to really be able to do it. Oh, I have several copies of the complete Jewish Bible. I know. You didn't know that existed, but it does, and I'm friends with several of the people on the team, and I know what they went through. I got this Bible for my birthday, 9/23 in 2016, and that was a gift from my show. So I got myself this as a gift. Which was the Collision of Faith and Politics was my show back then. Anyway, I wanted this Bible because I interviewed this is done by Hendrickson's Bible. It's an amazing Bible, I'm telling you. The print is a little bit small for me, but I can't recommend it enough. It is, if you want to understand it from a Hebrew perspective, scriptures from a Hebrew perspective, a distinctly Hebrew perspective, man, oh man, is this ever awesome. I have lots more Bibles than this. I know that's crazy. I have a Bible from Linda Foreign. Holy moly, this gift brought me to tears. A World War I soldier's Bible, right? A United States soldier's Bible from World War I. I have that. I also have a Bible from the 1800s. Right, they're barely together. I have a little Bible in my car that's New King James Version. When I go visit people in the hospital, sometimes when I do funerals, I use it for graveside services. I love that too. It's little. I can still read it, believe it or not. So anyway, the New Living Translation was done originally in 1996. Now they did use a fair bit of the Greek text. The New Living Translation, what their goal was there is to create a very readable Bible. There were more translations than this. Professor Peterson, I also have the Message Bible. That Bible is not a scholar Bible. That Bible is not for Bible study. What that Bible was designed for by Dr. Peterson I think he was from Grove City College back then. What his goal there was not to do a translation of the Bible, but to write a Bible so that people could understand it. Yes, the blue letter version that Humble Lamb does is amazing. I'm going to do sort of not a Bible review, but a Bible, I have that. It's amazing. That was a gift from my buddy Scott. Let me tell you, one of the listeners, amazing. So this is the Keyword Study Bible in the New American Standard Version. It has the Strong's, dictionaries, concordance, word studies, introductions, footnotes. I have the New English Translation too, with all of the translator notes. I have the first copy, numero uno. I have the first copy of the New English Translation. Yes, I do. And boy, am I excited about that. Love that. I go to that a lot. Because the translator notes, amazing. Anyway, I'm going to do like a little review. The Humble Lamb Bible, I'm going to review my AMG Bibles, the ESV, the different ones that I have, the different printers and publishers. And then I'm going to do the Cambridge University Press does a Bible. I'm going to do that one too. That's very comparable to Humble Lamb. There's some differences there, but I'll discuss those then. I don't want to muddy the waters on that right now. So, and then the CEB. The CEB is it's an English Translation Bible, 2011, and that really was a spin-off of the New Living Translation, the NIV, the NAB, and the NRSV. It takes some of its lineage, but it goes all the way back to the Revised Version, 1855, the American Revised Version, 1901. So that's kind of what that comes from. Now, the New Living Translation, I do not carry the New Living Translation. I don't use it. I have it. It's full of notes, and I don't disrespect that one at all. I filled it. I filled the pages. Anywhere there is space on it to write, full of my writing back when I could write well, pre-crash. So that's very important to me. I cry a lot of times when I read the things that I wrote on there, doing different study and just how it impacted me, and something I read that a light bulb went off, or I went on this rabbit trail. Well, anyway, so one time I was at seminary and divinity school, and Dr. Fry, the president of the university, he would have all of us read different passages. And when it got to me, I read my passage, and I was a pretty good reader back then. And so I had much of the Bible memorized back then. So, I read it with some flair and all of that. And he thanked me for reading it in front of the class. And then he said, "But you, sir, have a spurious translation." And that is why I have two copies, one in like a blood maroon, scarlet, and one in sort of a bluish black, of the Thompson Chain Reference Bible. And I forgot to mention, I have that. Two copies of the Thompson Chain Reference Study Bible. Utterly amazing. I cannot tell you enough how amazing that is. I think that is so good to have, because I really believe that the Thompson Chain Reference, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Have you ever, I don't know. Have I ever talked about that, Thompson Chain Reference? Dang it, I can't believe I haven't talked about that. I was sure that I did. I'm looking up at my show notes here. I don't see it. Anyway, so I want to do this really quick. The KJV only crowd, look, I don't want you to be upset. Read it, hold it, take it. The best Bible is the one that you carry. It's amazing. I was going to say, the Thompson Chain Reference, I think you can get that in most translations, but the New King James is really, really good. I really like that. I'm going to go through explaining some of the different translations. For the KJV only crowd, there are 6 common misconceptions or false beliefs about the King James Version. The King James, what is true, in a way, is that it was a pivotal Bible translation for the world. I mean, undoubtedly amazing. What is not true is that it was the first English translation of the Bible. That's not true. It wasn't the first, but the 10th English translation of the Bible. So, Wycliffe's Bible, 1388. Tyndale's Bible, 1516. Remember, he died, burnt at the stake. Coverdale's Bible, 1535. I have all these, by the way. Matthew's Bible, 1537. Taverner's Bible, 1539. The Great Bible, 1540. The Geneva Bible, I also have, 1560. I don't have the original, obviously. The Bishop's Bible, 1568. The Douay-Rheims version, 1609, and then the King James Version, 1611. Now, the next myth, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, is that the KJV was authorized by God. The belief that the King James Version was authorized by God to be translated is just an assumption with no biblical basis at all. There's no support for that at all. The reason it was called the King James Version, the reason it was called the Authorized Version, is because its translation was approved and mandated by King James I, and it was appointed to be read in churches. You couldn't read any other Bible than this. This was the one that was authorized, and it was the only one that they were allowed to read in churches at that time. Why? Because the church was widely influenced by government and the crown learned that they could use this influence to manipulate the church for what they wanted. So anyway, that's how that came about. Now, the Holy Bible, containing the Old and New Testaments, translated out of the original tongues, and with the former translations diligently compared and revised by His Majesty's special command to be read in churches. Now, this is it's in most of the Bibles. That's something you'll read in there if you have a traditional King James Version. Now, another myth is, a misunderstanding or myth is, hey, good day. Thank you, Masters Maniac Mexico. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Click on like and subscribe if you think of it, if you want to. You don't have to. So the next myth is the King James is always true to the literal words of the Hebrew and Greek text. While the King James Version is generally a very literal translation, remember, it's on the literal side. It's not always literal in all its renderings. Like in Luke 20:16 and Romans 3:4, the King James Version paraphrased the Greek "migeanoto," may it never be, into God forbid. Right? It translated "mi genuoto," may it never be, that's what it means, into God forbid. And in Matthew 27:44, the Greek onedizion oton, they reviled him. This means they reviled him. It was paraphrased by the King James Version into "cast the same in his teeth," which was a saying. It had no applicability there at all, from "they reviled him" to "cast the same in his teeth." I literally have 1,000 other examples, but this podcast can't be 900 years long. The King James Version, this is another myth, is a perfect translation. There's no such thing as a perfect translation. The only perfect texts of the Bible were the texts that came from the hands of the biblical writers written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Perfect translation is not possible because of the nature of language. Receptor languages such as English, they can't always reflect perfectly the concepts or meanings of Greek or Hebrew words. And in some cases, the meaning of Hebrew and Greek words, they're very difficult to decipher. Translations are just approximations to the original text as best they can. Again, paradigms, proclivities, biases, I mean, that all goes into it. So anyway, the goal of each translation is to be closer as much as possible to the message of the original text. That's why translations are continually revised to be more accurate. King James Version wasn't exempt from revisions, just so you know. There were 4 major revisions of the King James Version: 1629, 1638, 1762, and 1769. And you might say the New King James Version was another in that list. Anyway, let's see here. And more than 20 minor revisions since 1769. The changes in these revisions are due to not only printing errors. They had printing errors. They were printed in 1600. Come on. Things were printed wrong. They came out wrong. Or spelling standardization. But also textual and translation errors that they came to learn. Hey, we made a mistake on this. Later, they, hundreds of years later even, they realized, oh, crap, we messed up on this. They probably didn't say crap, but maybe they did. Another myth is the King James Version is a better translation than the modern versions. Look, the truth is, modern versions are much better. Modern versions are much better than the KJV. The KJV is not a readable version by comparison to many modern versions because, look, it's archaic. The archaisms, the obscure literal renderings, the King James Version was based on late and inferior Greek texts too, by the way, while modern versions are based on much older and more reliable. My phone keeps trying to be the microphone for the show. I don't know what's up. Anyway. So it was based on late and inferior Greek text, while the modern versions are based on much older and much, much more reliable Greek text that they found since then. The so-called omissions in the NIV, by the way, and other modern versions, is not a conspiracy or a malicious intent to distort the Bible, as many have said. I don't know why. But it's due to a variation in the Greek manuscript. So as we learn more about the original languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, obviously revisions need to occur because, we got this wrong. There are Greek manuscripts that have those verses, and there are Greek manuscripts that do not have those verses. So what do you do then? They're ancient, but there's 2 different copies, and one has one little piece and the other doesn't. What do you do with that? You try to figure out, okay, what was going on here? This happened because of scribal copying error. They're human beings, right? copying errors. They made a mistake, or they altered it, or they emended it. And so through science of, now this is a real science, textual criticism, it's possible to determine with high accuracy which variant is reliable or not. Now, this is the sixth myth. I'm almost finished. The King James translators, King James Version translators, were inspired by the Holy Spirit. There are Christians who actually believe that the King James Version translators were inspired by the Holy Spirit in the same manner as the biblical writers, but this is denied by the translators themselves. I've read many of their own translator notes. I've read many of their letters and the things that they wrote since then, and they admit it. They say, I was not inspired by God. The original preface to the King James Version of 1611, the translators admitted that their work was not perfect and not on par with the inspired authors of Scripture. There were incidences where the translators were not absolutely sure of the original rendering of Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic text, and they indicated that in the margin with textual variant notes. So understand, these are real things. This is true stuff here. Those who believe that the King James Version translators were inspired by the Holy Spirit, they must use a King James Bible with the apocryphal books, because the translators, who are mostly Anglicans, they added these books in their original translation. The Apocrypha was part of the King James Bible for 274 years, until 1885, when the British and Foreign Bible Societies excluded them from the Revised Edition. I'm not endorsing the Apocrypha. I'm just telling you this is reality. This is reality. Anyway, I'm not going to have time to. I'm going to have to kind of end this here in a second, because what I don't want to do is, I don't want to rush this. I don't know. Let me see how much I have here. Yeah, I think it's too much. I think it's too much to do now. I don't know how long I'm going. How long is this? Holy moly, almost 2 hours. Sorry about that. Well, not sorry. It had to be on here. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's too much, though. I know that it's too much. It's already too long. The average listening time is, on average on YouTube, is 4 minutes. 4-point-something minutes. My average listening time for my show, The True Word, Faith for Life, with Dr. Sean Show, is 8 minutes. Almost 9 minutes. So, but look, I understand it's really long. Anyway, real quick, let me just do this real quick. The New American Standard Bible, evangelical in influence, most literal translation, revision of American Revised. English Standard Version is considered evangelical. Literal retains Tyndale and King James Version notes. Revision of the Revised Standard Version. Revised Standard Version, father of the ESV and New Revised Version. Scholarly translation. Literal. Holman Christian Standard Bible, or CSB. HCSB, whatever. It was a new translation. Evangelical, published by Holman, which is the publishing of the Southern Baptist Convention. Some biases there too. New Revised Standard Bible, son of the RSV. It's gender neutral. It's scholarly, generally non-evangelical. The New American Bible, simple, clear American English, close to the original text. New International Version, NIV, most popular modern evangelical Bible ever. It's the most printed Bible ever, believe it or not. It is a compromise between literal and idiomatic. New Living Translation of Revised Version of the Paraphrased Living Bible, neither literal or paraphrase. It is popular. It is considered evangelical. The Complete English Bible, the CEB, newer translation. It's accessible, produced by mainline churches. King James Bible, classic for 400 years. It's the most poetic, noblest monument of English prose. Literal. It is a must-read in English, or it's the most read Bible in history, all of time. New King James Version is a revision of the King James Version, more accessible to the modern reader, while retaining the classic King James language. Now, you'll notice that I have talked about several different Bibles that I have that I haven't gone into on that. the New English Translation or the Net Bible. Again, I have the first one. It was a gift from my wife, Colleen. Wonderful gift, extremely expensive, incredibly well made, just a beautiful, beautiful Bible. And it's huge. It's literally this thick. I mean, that's not a Bible you carry to church. It is the scholarly notes in that, the translator notes, all of this. I mean, this much of it are, how did we get to this? How did we get to this particular why did we get here? What are we doing here? Right? That it explains it. It's like this many pages. I just think it's fantastic. It's an incredible translation. The complete word study Bible, I just love it. The keyword Hebrew Greek keyword study Bible. I have, like I said, I have an English Standard Version, New American Standard. I have the red letter and the black letter. It's published by AMG Publishers. I'll go more into where the Bibles are made, where they're printed, all of that, because I just think that's cool information. I think it's really, really cool. So anyway, so I'm going to give you all that. But anyway, I read a lot of them, and so I encourage you, get whatever Bible you're going to read. That's the key. I mean, that's really all that matters, is read the one that you have. Now, if you have a terrible translation and you're like, look, I can't make heads or tails, or you have a King James Version, you say, look, I can't get it. I'm struggling to get it. Which I'm going to do a whole other show on recommendations of other biblical commentary and dictionaries and all of that to have, what you could have. I was going to do it here, but there's not enough time to do it. We're already at 155, 156. Come on, it's ridiculous. I've gone on too long. I promise you I'm going to do that and explain some of the things that I use, the different resources, the physical resources, and then also the technology resources, such as Logos. Used to be Logos and Word Search, Faith Life. So now they've been bought by Logos. And that system, I have the Scholars Edition. I think that's what they used to call it. And because, obviously I read and study and do all that stuff. I have 1,700 books in it as well. So that's an incredible library. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of books that I got for less than $1,000. And I've had it for a long time. Logos.com. They don't sponsor the show. They don't endorse the show. And so me saying their name is, I'm not inferring an endorsement. That said, it is a thing I use a lot. But there are many out there that are free. They're free. Some are good, some are not. Some are aggregators of information, only searchable. Logos is the best one. It's not easy. It's not super easy. It's not super intuitive, but it is the one used by scholars. I mean, if you're a Bible scholar, you don't have to be a Bible scholar to use it. They have all different ones you can get. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So I really appreciate, more than you know, in you tuning in. I do. It's crazy that you do. I'm blown away that you do. I hope that you subscribe. I hope that you share it with your friends. If you're listening to this on playback, right? You couldn't join live, but most people they're working. It's I don't know. I really, if you're tapping into this and you're listening on playback, I mean, I just can't thank you enough. Give it to all your friends. If you think they benefit from it, have them click on subscribe. Say, hey, click on subscribe, click the little bell, click on like. What's that do? That moves you up in the algorithm. And once you move up in the algorithm, more people see it. And that's what I'm interested in. I started this off by thanking my VA medical team and also my civilian medical team. They have helped me so much. But this past week, I got to tell you, hang on one second. Hey, Doyle, I'm finishing up a podcast, and you're live with me, so don't say anything bad. Can I call you right back? Yep. Okay, I'll call you right back. Love you. I always told my kids, no matter what, if you call me, I don't care if I'm preaching in front of 3,000 people or 10,000 people, I will still always answer the phone. That's why I keep the phone. I'll know if my kids are calling because there's a certain buzz to it. There's a certain ring to it. And so if Lily or Doyle ever call, I'm always going to pick up the phone. Always. Anyway, you're right, Fiore. Our banks financed Hitler and both sides of the war. You're 100% right. Anyway, so I really, really appreciate your attention. I appreciate you tapping in. I can't wait to do this Bible. I don't want to use the term review, but I'm just going to talk about the different ones that I use the most. By the way, I thought you might find this interesting. So, since the crash, obviously my left side is impacted. I wasn't left-handed. I was ambidextrous, so I could use both hands. I could write with both hands. I could shoot with both hands. I could brush my teeth with both hands. I could do everything with both hands. And I had gorgeous handwriting. I could write really small. I could write big. I could write in cursive. I could do freehand calligraphy. Amazing. I can't do that anymore. That's gone. So I have many, many notes, speaking of Doyle, that I wanted to transfer into one Bible for each of my kids. I wanted to give them, one is an ESV study Bible, beautiful leather. The other, I can't remember which one I'm doing for Lily, and then I've got to do one now for Colleen, but it's, going Bible to Bible and copying down every note that I can into these Bibles so that they will have a Bible with all of my notes in it, handwritten by me. That's what I call my Bible project, because look, the VA people, they're keeping me alive. They're keeping me able. They jumped right in when I made a massive mistake and didn't order this critical medication. I was in horrible suffering for 8 days. If you watched the last podcast, you might be able to tell it was horrible. I was, man, oh man, it was bad. I'm getting some relief today, but they went over and above and beyond. They were absolutely amazing how they blessed me and helped me. I can't thank them enough. I am so utterly blessed by them. And also my civilian doctor. My civilian doctor is why I have this. This is a constant glucose monitor because my different organs are failing because I have brain and spinal injury. I have diabetes now. So, Anyway, so this is really helpful because I don't have to test every day. All I do is hold the phone up, boop, and I get my blood sugar reading. It records it. My doctors can read it. Amazing. Anyway, they're amazing. All of them are amazing. The doctors, nurses, my PT. She doesn't believe, I'm sure she doesn't believe a lot of stuff I believe, but she's amazing. The amazing interns at physical therapy have been amazing to help me, and the current one, utterly amazing. She's unreal. And so I can't thank all of them enough. Even my whole health doctor, I don't want to say his name either because I'll just say Jude. Amazing guy. Super amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. And really, Dr. Marangel and Dr. Friedman, if you look up Dr. Jeffrey Marangel, he's world renowned. Dr. David Friedman, best-selling author, #1 health and wellness radio show in America. He's also one of my doctors. Just amazing. I can't thank all of you enough. All of you who pray for me, all of you who have blessed me immensely, personally and electronically. I cannot thank you enough. You are a massive blessing to me, and so I want you to know that. So I want to pray real quick and then we'll go. I know it's been long, and quite frankly, I know I'm wearing. Hey, thank you for your prayers. Really, really, I'm praying that your week of tribulation will come to an end and that the Lord keeps us around. I know you're fighting hard. Masters Maniac in Mexico, I know that you are. We are praying for you. We're praying for relief from pain and all of the things that are an affliction. So let's pray and then we'll go. Heavenly Father, I'm no good. I'm just a beggar who found the bread of life. And I want to tell as many people where I found it. I want to show as many people as I can before my end that you are the bread of life, and that through your word, the study of your word, through conversation with you and prayer, through peace and meditation and prayer, we can communicate with you, not just a one-way conversation, but two ways. I thank you for each and every one of these listeners here, and for the ones that are suffering with afflictions, some with mental health afflictions, some with physical health, and some with both. God, I ask your blessings upon them. I'm nobody. I am literally nobody. I'm no better than anybody at all. And so I don't have any authority to sit here and claim some sort of superiority among other believers. But on the behalf of those who listen, I ask that you bless them. I ask that you lift them. I ask that you give them comfort. Those that have just recently lost family members and loved ones, may their memories be a blessing to them. May you comfort them as only you can. God, there are people that are listening now, whether live or on replay, that are dealing with some crazy hard stuff, and I just pray that you would bless them, comfort them, let us know how to help them. Finally, God, I thank you for allowing me the venue, and I hope this doesn't get canceled or get the channel torn down, what I talked about the terrorists, but and the college campuses and all that mess. But I know that if it's your will, it'll stay up and it'll stay live, be seen by a lot of people. And if it's not your will, it won't. But I know that nothing happens without your care and concern, and you're noticing it. So I ask that you do that. Thank you for technology. What will we do without it? I just pray, Father, that you would bless and keep those who are listening, believers, embolden believers around the world to stand for Israel in very real ways. We know that the Hebrew people are your people, and that we are to stand with them. And I pray that we would be so bold as to step in front of all of these protesters and these rioters and these terrorists, and not allow this to happen. God, we know chaos is coming. We know chaos is here. And I ask that we won't be a fearful people. I don't want to be a fearful people. I want to be a happy warrior, but I also want to be well informed. Thank you for your word, for the hands that have touched that word, who have brought that to us, for the blood that has been spilt on the pages. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for all of the people who've brought the word to us in any way. I pray, God, that we would be able to put copies of the Bible in the hands of everyone who wants to have it, no matter where they are. I pray that you would empower us to do that. I pray this in Yeshua, your matchless Son, my Redeemer and my friend, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah. I pray this in his name, his holy, wonderful name. What a name, what a beautiful name, the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. My friends, shalom and shalom.